Call the meeting to order. Misty, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris.
Here.
J.R. Huddleston.
Here.
Deborah Johnston.
Here.
Bill Lukens.
Here.
Larry Pratt.
Present.
Craig Romey.
Present.
Caitlin Turner. Linda Varvel.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And council, remember conflict of interest. If you have anything you're not comfortable on voting on, please let the council know before the vote. Need a motion to approve an amended agenda. Handed out a resolution 2021-28. That's a resolution authorizing an application for financial assistance, authorizing the execution and submittal of the application, and designating an authorized representative to certify and sign payment requests. So that resolution will follow Resolution 2021-27. We need an amended resolution or amended agenda to include Resolution 2021-28.
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda, adding Resolution 2021-28.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the minutes from the December 6th council meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from December 6th council meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the bills in between.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in between for $151,889.06.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion for the current claims.
Make a motion to pay the current claims of $72,672.89.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Council update. Kathy with Recreation. And Kathy, we have a bid opening at 7:10. So, if you're still going strong, we'll just pause.
This is as quick as you want to go. So you guys have all the sheets. If you have questions now or later, feel free to give me a holler. This is my 5th year, 4 years full-time as far as non-COVID. Just again, have to say I'm a huge proponent. Looking forward to the time, if ever, that online registration will happen. I think the transparency and accuracy will be tremendous. I have had more and more parents asking me about this. In 2019, I know we have some new council people. We went to full-time recreation versus summer rec. We started a winter/spring swim program that was very popular, and we resumed that this year, and it, again, was very popular. You can see all the numbers. These sheets are prepared by me.
Kathy, speak up a little bit. Can you speak up a little?
The sheets that you have are prepared by me. I also got assistance from a CPA who doesn't live in Hot Springs. So this is not finance numbers. These are based on registrations and rosters. Open gym again was successful. Sorry, I have lots of little notes here. So the swim program was very supported. We did a fall program. Those numbers are there, laughter, yoga, and music and movement. We did 2 sessions of music and movement. Those were successful. We're going to try again. We'll see what happens. We had a lot of volunteers this year, both assistants and instructors and helpers. I want to say big thanks to Tracy Bastian for working on Saturdays with the hydrant parties that I think are growing in popularity. He also did his own personal sound system and music, which adds a whole wonderful element to it. So the thanks is to Fall River County Herald, the radio, and I never get these letters right, KZMX, for all the help putting the information out there of what we're doing. And then the gymnastics is still one of the biggest challenges we have, and all the helpers, free and otherwise. It's just a huge job. So I think I'm not going to name out all the instructors, but Larry, Taekwondo was a huge hit, and thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
So I'll hand it to you.
I think you've done a great job. I really like how you've expanded it and created something for not just the kids, but for the adults in town, especially going into the winter when we have nothing to do.
Right.
So I really commend you on everything and all the efforts you've put out.
Thank you. I'm just a real, I see it as a facilitator. If the budget can handle it and somebody comes and says, can we do this? And there's enough signups, we're doing it. Why not? So recreation is also quality of life, and it's becoming more and more popular. So I love that we have opportunity year-round now and see where that takes us.
Right.
Yeah.
It keeps our senior citizens younger and keeps the younger people from getting older, and it's a very healthy thing for us to promote here. Yeah.
Kathy,
Yes.
if you still want to keep going with what I've done, I mean, I still teach in the wintertime too, so it's strictly up to you.
We don't have a building.
Okay.
So I'm in talks with the schools, and we just have to see what can happen. We have a new activities director there, so we're kind of starting over again to see if we can get any space at all in their off times, which is quite a challenge. So thank you.
And I do appreciate what you did, because I got 3-4 students that came over to where I'm at now. so-
Sweet. Okay. I'll let you know.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Dave, do you want to ask her your question?
Do you have a question? Am I done?
Appreciate it, Kathy.
Kathy, you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
You really have.
Yeah, Kathy, I'd just like to add that what you provide for the community, I see it as quality of life issues.
Thank you.
And recognizing that, as the programs grow, we benefit by increased revenue also, but it's not just about the revenue. So when you're able to increase the programs and still make them successful, a big kudos. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I guess I just did think of one thing. The bigger numbers there that are in the red, those specifically do help school programs, so I kind of see it as a stepping stone. I think a little bit of them, a little are kind of high, but we can work on that. I like that the program can provide that stepping stone to our schools, so you'll notice those are a little high.
You got 10 more seconds.
Perfect.
All All right, we're at 7:10. A bid opening for the Southern Hills Golf Course pile of pine logs of mixed lengths and diameters. Misty said we only have one bid. Hereby make an offer of $50 for the scrap wood next to the cart building on the Hot Springs Golf Course. Robert, I can't read Robert's last name, but he's the only bid we have. Would the council like to make a motion whether to approve, disapprove, or table the accepting of the bid?
I make a motion, we approve the bid.
Second.
Discussion? The motion passes. We've sold our wood pile at the golf course.
Should we vote?
Do we go get the vote?
Thank you.
Bob?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Robert, are you out there?
His number should be on it, he said.
Okay.
Thank you, council. All right, we're just going to have to wait a little bit for these next items. Communications of public. Do we have any communications from the public? Is that you, Tim? All right. Same as Kathy, you got about 3 minutes. When we get to the 7:15 public hearing, we'll just ask you to pause. Then we'll go through the 7:15 to 7:20, and if you still have something else you want to share, come on, we'll have you come back up.
Okay, thank you. My name's Tim Tesher. Some of you know me. I served
Hi,
on the
Tim.
council with several of you.
Speak into the mic real closely.
Okay. My name's Tim Tesher, and I worked for the city, and I have served on the council, so I know some of these gentlemen. And I'm here in opposition. I'd like of ordinance 1237, which is the fireworks ordinance. When I was on the council, this came up at that time, and there was a lot of stuff brought up as to how fireworks affected veterans. Well, I guess I'm going to qualify myself as to be able to speak for a veteran. I am a veteran. I spent 4 years serving during the Vietnam era. As for some of my background, my daughter just retired for 21 years in the National Guard, which time she served in Afghanistan. My son served in Iraq. He was one of the first ones over there, and some of them that they got extended for 6 extra months when they first went over there. That's my immediate family. My father-in-law was on the Lexington when they sunk her at the Battle of Midway. My dad was on Iwo Jima. My brother-in-law served during Vietnam. So I think I qualify as being able to speak for the veterans. I'm not here to say that this is all completely wrong. I just think there should be some changes made. And I would like to submit them now, if you don't mind. What I read here is under A. The only thing I would change in the original part of that would be I would specify dates. I'll agree with the people of Hot Springs that this last 4th of July, from the 27th to the Sunday after the 4th, was exceedingly long time. I would like to have that changed other than the rest of it, and just leave the rest of it alone all the way down to where you guys have started making the changes. Also, in this part of the country, when the fire danger is high, that takes in about 8 or 9 months of the year when the fire danger is high. In this part of the country, it's always high. So I believe that that should be taken out. And the red flag warnings, this is South Dakota, people. A red flag warning is based on wind. And the wind blows every day in South Dakota. So somewhere it's going to be a red flag warning. I'm sorry, but, and I guess the discharge would allow for fireworks to be limited, which is part D. I don't agree with being able to celebrate the liberty that my family has spent over 40 total hours in the military for this liberty and justice that we have in America, so that I can celebrate Independence Day for 6 hours or 7 hours on the 4th of July, and that's it? I don't think so, people. Other than that, those are the recommendations that I would present to you, and I hope you take them under consideration before you vote tonight. And that's my opinion, and I thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I've got it all written down here, and I'm more than happy to sit down and discuss it with any of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. We'll go into our 7:15 public hearing. A public hearing to discuss the application to secure funding from the Board of Water and Natural Resources for drinking water improvements up to $6.5 million, and to discuss the proposed projects, project alternatives, proposed financing, and source of repayment for any potential loan. Jennifer, you're with the Black Hills Council of Local Governments.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm here tonight to conduct the public hearing for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan application for improvements to your drinking water system. Is it picking me up? Okay. So there's several things that have to be covered in this public hearing in order for your application to be considered by the Board of Water and Natural Resources in March. So the first item is the need for the project. The production capacity of the city is limited, and there have been many times in the past where during hot or dry periods, the city's actually been at 90% or over of the capacity, production capacity. And so that, along with the addition of new customers in the past 2 years, you've added over 100 drinking water customers to your system. The need is imminent, and the city needs to look at doing something to address that. There have been several different alternatives that have been looked at, both by Tracy and the engineering firm that you guys hired to conduct the facilities plan or engineering study for your drinking water system. And there are options to split the project and do, just a tank or just a new well. But it really doesn't wholly address the issues that you're going to see, and it definitely doesn't allow enough capacity for additional growth. And all of the evidence suggests that you're continuing to grow right now, except if you look at the census. We've had that with many communities after the 2020 census, that the numbers don't really look right compared to what we're seeing on the ground, but we deal with the information that we're given. So the project is to construct a new Madison well, pump house for that well, and then a 1.5 million gallon storage tank to better service the city's water users. The project will also include backup power to the pump station in the event of a system-wide failure. So a lot of times what we see when we plan for mitigation events or mitigation planning is that if you lose power, you have no ability to fill your tank. And so if that is prolonged, you have no ability to get water to the customers. In communities that have lift stations, we also see where if lift stations go down, you're unable to to pump the dirty water away, and it ends up in backups into the home. So having backup power that is not something that has to be manned is incredibly important to your system, just to ensure that nobody's left without the ability to fill the tank and draw water. The proposed financing for this project is, it can be a multiple different types of funding. The program is called the State Revolving Loan Fund, but through that application process, there's an opportunity for grant through the Consolidated Water Construction Facilities Program at DANR, principal forgiveness loan, regular loan, or a combination of each of those. And in this year, there's a unique opportunity through the American Recovery Plan Act. So at this time, the governor's budget and the staff at DNR are going to recommend to the legislature that $600 million of the ARPA funds that the state has received be dedicated to the SRF programs. And the DANR staff have come up with a plan for divvying out those funds. And there's an opportunity there where the city could receive grant dollars, where in normal years or typical funding application you would not see grant dollars to the level that you'll see this time. So it is a unique opportunity for you to apply, and you always have the opportunity to reject the funding package that you get if it doesn't look the way you'd want to. But I always tell communities to be cautious of that kind of thinking, simply because if there is a need and there's a need great enough to submit an application, then it's likely that you're going to need this project regardless. And so if you get your project funded, you should really strongly look at moving forward with the project. So the cost estimate on this project is $6.5 million, and again, that's for the well, the pump house, and the 1.5 million gallon storage tank. The maximum amount of SRF loan to be borrowed would be $6.5 million if you don't receive any grant dollars or any kind of subsidy. We have to talk about the revenue source pledged for repayment. There's 4 different ways you can bond an SRF loan. You can do it through a general obligation bond, which requires a vote and goes against your constitutional debt limit. You can use sales tax revenue to repay it. You can use drinking water revenues that are just inside your drinking water fund and dedicate those. Or you can do what's called a project surcharge bond. A project surcharge bond does not count against your constitutional debt limit, so it doesn't hinder your ability to borrow for other reasons. And as long as the project benefits all of the users on the system, that can be assessed to everyone who benefits from the project. There is maybe a false or misunderstanding that a project surcharge requires you to raise your rates. That's not true. DANR will allow you to restructure your rates. So if you have enough repayment ability within your existing rate structure, you wouldn't necessarily have to raise your rates to do this project, as long as the revenue that you are currently collecting on the drinking water system is sufficient to cover 110% debt coverage. The interest rate and term. So you'll never find cheaper money than this, because you qualified for 0.0% interest for 30 years. You won't find cheaper money than that. Again, not all of this, not necessarily all of this will be loan. There is an opportunity for grant, but we never know what percentage of grant your project will receive until the Board of Water and Natural Resources makes a decision on that. The last thing that we have to cover is the effect of the proposed financing on user rates. So I did plain math, as somebody called it the other day. Really just used your interest rate in term to determine what your annual debt service on this would be at 1.1% debt coverage, and divided that by 1,800 users. That's the number of drinking water users I was provided by the city. And it comes to $11.03 per user per month that you would need to dedicate to this. Again, that doesn't mean your rates have to increase by that amount. It just means that you would have to dedicate $11.03 per user per month into a separate fund. And the one thing that you do need to know is when you collect for a surcharge, you have to dedicate that to debt repayment. You can't use it as operation and maintenance. So it does hinder you a little bit, but it guarantees that your loan is going to be paid. And then I'll just talk really briefly, the $600 million that's going to be rededicated or hopefully dedicated from the ARPA funds that are available to the state. It's not a sure thing yet. Although it's got a lot of support, it still has to go through the legislature to be approved. So maybe some of you heard about an email that went out about this, and it talked about 30% grant, 50% grant, and 80 or 100% grant. That is based off of where your rates currently are. And the way I read that email is that your rates would have to be at $55 or higher to get 100% grant for your project. So just know that I don't believe your project will get 100% grant. But again, you're at a 0% interest rate. And that $600 million number could change because the legislature hasn't approved for it to go to this program yet. So if that number were to become $500 million, it's a possibility 30% grant could be 25% if they just don't have enough ability to fund all of the projects that, submit applications. So there's no guarantees, but it's, again, an opportunity that hasn't been there in the past and won't likely, from this fund, won't be there in the future. And then the final thing is the resolution. So the amended agenda included the resolution for this. That resolution is strictly to allow the mayor to sign the application and sign any other documents pertaining to the application. So a lot of times that requires an environmental review. If you're funded, it'll require drawdown requests, contractors pay applications, anything that's pertaining. So we wouldn't have to pass another resolution once you're approved. You'd be able to do things like the bond resolution, surcharge resolution if needed, that type of thing without having to pass another resolution. Are there any questions from the council or the mayor?
That 0.0 financing for how many years was that? Is that 18?
30 years.
30 years.
Is it possible to roll our current SRF bond debt in our water fund in with that? Or would they have to remain separate?
I've seen it happen before, but I haven't seen it with this program, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've seen USDA do it. They will refinance that. But I would imagine probably not for this because it's 0%. And when the state collects interest on those loans, it's money that comes into their program to rededicate to other projects. So as it earns money, they turn around and fund more projects with it. And I imagine they do some kind of planning that says, we expect to collect this much interest on this loan. And so I think it would maybe mess with their plan a little bit. And 0% interest, they're probably not going to trade off something they're, making interest off of. So I'd guess that would probably be a no, but I have seen it in other programs, and I think if it was anything other than 0%, that might be an opportunity for you.
Thank you.
So there is supposed to be an opportunity for the public to make comments on this, but you might do that at a different time, or, okay.
Mayor?
No, we announced that tonight would be the night for the public to, have comments. So, Jennifer, if you're at a point that the public can comment on what you've shared with them. Is there anybody in the public that is here specifically tonight to speak on this project? And if so, come on down.
Don Olstead. When you apply for these funds, do you have to specify for the tank, for the well? Caution. There haven't been many Madison Wells that were successful in the Southern Hills. So if you wanted to do a accomplish the same goal by enhancing your existing water source or lines to get to a new tower someplace, that would have to be specified out in the application as an alternative, or you got to have this nailed down now?
The application is specific about what you're applying for. The engineers at PA&R reviewed the project, and I have been at a Board of Other Natural Resources meeting where they have recommended a different and so it's possible that their engineers don't agree with what the city engineer is moving. They would come back and ask the city to put in their application so that it reflects what we're actually applying for. And they also get the engineering study, which identifies probably more alternatives than what I talked about tonight. And so if they believe there's an alternative in that engineering study that is better, sometimes they will recommend to the city that they do something different.
But if the original engineering study had never looked at our existing sources and piping and towers and stuff, see what I mean? Okay.
The engineering study, in order to be approved by DNR, is required to look at distribution lines and transmission, source, and storage, all of those.
Because you guys know you have a great source. The last well that was drilled at the plunge was test pumped from 30 feet at 2,500 gallons a minute. That's 3.5 million gallons. So
So part of that was that they released a lot of, they have to include a lot of lines. So if you go to the location, the power location, it's like almost 2 miles of dedicated line. And so the lines can become pretty expensive as well. And they are supposed to look at cost benefits.
okay, we've got a couple Madison Wells west of Hot Springs here currently that were developed in the last year or two. Nothing on this scale, but nowhere approaching the kind of gallons you guys are going to be looking for. And there's a gentleman here that can talk to you about Madison Wells in the Southern Black Hills and the success rate, or lack thereof. As we get further from the outcropping, the drillers tell me, my history is 25 years in the water well service business. And I see the water wells, I know what's around Hot Springs, I know what's happened with some of the drillings around Hot Springs, and then followed what's gone on. But specifically, there are more Madison wells that don't produce a lot of water than there are that do, historically. So because it says Madison well, doesn't mean you're going to get a lot of water. And you guys do have what, 5,000 gallons a minute coming through the plunge? You might look at the pipeline. Rapid City's starting to think pipeline out of the Missouri River now instead of more Madison wells.
I'm Keith with the Fall River Water Users District. Our only concern was is there been a future use permit applied for the Madison for Hot Springs?
No.
Or any Madison water rights?
Tracy? Can you come down to the microphone, please?
We do have future use permits. We also have enough capacity in our current use permit to actually allow an expansion of the size that we're looking at. I do have that material available at City Hall that details, we're really probably right now only using about 30% of our total allocated acre feet per year of water. So we really do have quite a bit of headroom. And like I say, there's enough headroom in our current use permit to actually allow probably this expansion, and definitely it's well covered in our future use permit. So that has been locked in for many years.
But my question is it spelled out for Madison source? Because your future use, I believe, is just for the Springbox Gallery, where you're actually pumping from now. Is that correct or not?
I would have to look into that and contact DANR if it is actually specific to an aquifer or if it's just general.
Because I believe all our future use permits are spelled out, whether it's a Daycare well or our Madison Wells, of course. We have existing future use on those. And I just looked at your water right, and actually it looked like it was, you guys are, your future use is maxed out on.
Could both of you gentlemen please use the microphone so this is on record?
Sorry. So the way I understand the way the state issues future use is based upon your historical demand. And so you can, I believe it's like double your historical demand. Is that correct? So I think the city has like 1,800 acre feet thereabouts of future use established, but I believe that's only for your existing source based out of the Evans pumping station, but please do check on that. Our only concern is that Fall River has drilled several Madison wells. We've got one up between here and Buffalo Gap. We've got almost $2 million in, and it's a 20-gallon-a-minute well. So just as a word of caution, it's sure easy to drill a hole and not hit a whole lot down here in the Southern Hills.
Excuse me, sir. No disrespect to you.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm sorry. I am Keith. I manage the Fall River Water Users District.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know who you were. It was like you started speaking. It's like, huh? What?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I guess that's only my concern at this point. And believe me, we're in full support of hot springs in the water system here. This last year we purchased 48 million gallons from you guys. The previous year it was 28 million gallons. So we do appreciate what you as a city do provide for us as a rural community. So I enjoy working with you guys, and just those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tracy.
Just general information. Years ago, you probably remember, Craig.
Get closer to the microphone, please. You have to be real close to the mic.
Years ago, they done some extensive studies as to drilling wells around the golf course area. And here, and including in that study, was a 3 million gallon tank so that we would be able to pull the golf course and their area off a well system of its own. So I don't know if that has anything to do with any of this or not, but I do know that there was some extensive studies made and some well sites marked for that to be done. I don't know where those studies are at. They've got to be records of them someplace.
Thanks, Tim.
Jennifer, my understanding is that for this type of loan project that we're considering, there's also an April, or an opportunity a little later down the road in April to apply for these funds also?
That is correct. April 1st is the next quarterly deadline, and you wouldn't miss out on the ARPA opportunity if you submitted an application at that time.
By submitting the application in April, are there potentially less funds available to compete for?
Potentially, but and that's under the typical program. But if those $600 million are approved by the legislature during the legislative session in 2022, the $600 million would still be dedicated to those projects that are placed on the state water plan. So you guys are already on the state water plan. The state is already preparing and planning to fund an application from you.
All right. Any other comments from the public? So then, if the council were to vote to table this particular resolution tonight, what would the next steps then be? As far as the, you folks are concerned.
So the resolution is going to be needed no matter when you submit an application. So passing the resolution, it could be done now, or you could come back and do another public hearing. If the project changes, you would want to do another public hearing because it sounds like the Madison Well is maybe the point of contention. So if something were to change there, then you would need to do another public hearing. So if the council is not in agreement that an application should be submitted January 1st, you could table it, and then we would need to start the process over or hold another public hearing at a later time before April 1st.
So doing the resolution tonight just completes that step, that we wouldn't have to do it later on.
Correct.
All right.
So if we pass this resolution tonight and the best technical solution is a pipeline from an existing well or an existing region like the Evans Pump area versus a Madison well, is that a problem?
I specifically stated some specifics about the project. One thing that you could do is you could vote, I believe, to revise the resolution and just say drinking water improvements. I have submitted resolutions that aren't super specific, but it would still give signing authority if that's something the council is comfortable with. So if you strike, I think it's the first paragraph, it talks specifics. We could really call that something more general, drinking water improvements. As long as the amount that you're applying for doesn't change. If we struck the very specific part about the Madison Well and called it drinking water improvements, I've done resolutions like that. That's not necessary for it to be approved by DANR. I add that because a lot of cities have more than one SRF project, and it ties, it gives us, familiarity with, if we pull that resolution, we know it was for this project and not Highway 385 or some other drinking water improvements. So you could revise that to however you guys are comfortable, and you would still have the ability to have your mayor sign an application if between now and April 1st we get better information or plans have changed and we need to do something different with that application.
I guess that seems like that would be the best option, is to make it less specific so that we can give the mayor signing authority and still get the process going.
Yes, I agree.
You could say something to the effect of drinking water improvements to address storage and source needs.
You said storage and storage?
Storage and source needs. So the
Source-
well is
source
the
needs.
source, and the tank is your storage. And the pump house just makes it work along with the generator.
The gentleman who was a previous council member mentioned on the studies that we're kind of basing our plan on about having this up around the golf course area. He mentioned a 3 million gallon storage tank. Is there a reason that we drop that in half? Wouldn't it behoove us to have the larger tank as well?
It's probably a price thing.
I guess I should answer that question. The original study was done in 2010, and yes, that is correct. It was a 3 million gallon proposal. Part of the issue that comes in from actually going with a larger tank, of course, you can run a larger tank and not fill it, but we could actually wind up with stagnation issues, that the water is actually in there too long, and it we get stagnation. So, and cost as well. The price of tanks, as everything else, has definitely gone up. 1.5 million gallons would be a great augment to our system. And more than anything, we're definitely interested in having a third tank, kind of making, I guess you could call it maybe a little bit of a triangle as far as how the tanks are aligned. Of course, right now we've got the 1 million gallon tank that's at the top of Happy Hollow, and then we have the 2 million gallon tank that is way up above northwest of the state home. And of course, the irony is that our larger tank is fed by our smaller pumping station. And Hot Brook is absolutely, there's no way you can pump more out of Hot Brook because that is a spring box, and that is limited. That spring flows about 1,300 gallons a minute, and we pump about 1,050 when we're running. So that one is maxed out. Now, Evans Plunge, that is correct. That was test pumped. Back when it was upgraded, they actually were able to turn both pumps on at the same time and get a lot of water. So there is definitely validity to that option. What would have to be done, of course, is a dedicated transmission line that would take water to a new tank location, which ideally should be making that triangle. So that would be a lot of pipe. That would definitely be, and of course there'd be a lot of streets that would be torn up to put that line in. So that's all part of the consideration. But we do have both a hydrology study as well as a hydraulic study that was done back in 2010 timeframe that looked at all of these factors, and there were actually 4 different well locations that were studied at that time as well. And so we do have that information, and certainly no harm in taking a closer look at it as we move forward. Anything else from me at the moment?
So what would your comment be to changing the wording so we wouldn't be specifically mentioning a Madison well?
I think that's a good idea because actually I would have to pull up that hydrology study and see for sure if it actually did say Madison well. I'm not absolutely sure it was Madison. Maybe it was, but I think it was only about 200 feet deep. So at that location, I'm not real sure if that's Madison. But they did do a hydrology study with 4 different potential well sites, and that was considered probably the best one. But there's no question about the fact that the Evans Plunge area is an incredible source. It's, it's to be the trade-off between, that much transmission line having to go through town versus, a well and a tank that are very close to each other. So there are trade-offs involved. But changing that wording, I certainly would have no problem with that at all.
How would that affect the amount that we're asking for?
We would have to do a cost estimate if we were going to look at, the transmission line concept. Also, it would involve upgrades to the Evans pumping station. It really would. We would probably have to install larger pumps in order to actually be filling 2 tanks from the same pumping station, because we would still be using the 1 million gallon tank under its current capacity, and then there would have to be a dedicated line, a dedicated pump. So if we're going to have the 2 pump type redundancy that we currently have, we could theoretically actually have 4 pumps in that pumping station. And then, of course, with the emergency power generation, that would be quite an upgrade down there. And of course, we are limited a little bit in real estate space between the road and the edge of the river there, but I'm sure it probably could be done.
Tracy, any feasible way to go from the 1 million gallon tank that's feeding, the plunge is feeding now, and fill off of it to the other tank?
Well, we currently have a dedicated line with that booster station that was put in 2003 that does make it, we can transfer water from the 1 million gallon tank at 600 gallons a minute up to the 2 million. You could probably put in another booster station, maybe a bigger one, that could then transfer water, through a dedicated line from that location. But we'd probably have to upsize the pipe going up the hill to the 1 million gallon tank in the first place, because we would really be looking at probably 3,000 gallons a minute going up the hill instead of the current 1,300 to 1,400. So we would definitely have to put a larger pipe, even up to the 1 million.
Okay.
Depending on the length of the pipe, wouldn't you have to have a booster somewhere in between? Like I said, just depending on the length of the pipe to go to another tank.
The distance from the Evans pumping station, especially to a new tank that would be out above the golf course to create that. And we're also trying to balance our future distribution system growth. Right now, the golf course is a little bit marginal at times, and of course, as there's new houses going up constantly out there, I have some serious concerns about really just the amount of water that we're able to deliver to that area right now. So it would be very ideal to have a tank out there. If we were supplying that tank from the Evans pumping station, that is a very long dedicated line if it was going to make a single shot out of it. So yes, you're probably correct. There would probably have to be a booster station.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Is the council satisfied that amending the resolution that you'll be voting on later to whereas the City of Hot Springs has determined it is necessary to proceed with improvements to the city's drinking water system and to address storage and source needs, to get the resolution passed and then continue the discussion about the best way to meet those needs?
I'm comfortable with that.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Any other comments from the public? All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:53. Jennifer, thank you. Tracy, Don, Keith, appreciate the information.
Thank you for all that were involved in that conversation.
All right, well, we're just a few minutes behind on our 7:20 public hearing. But we have a 7:20 public hearing to act on the applications from Dolgen Midwest LLC, doing business as Dollar General Store, number 22788, for a new on-off sale retail malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license, and a new on-off sale retail wine and cider license. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address that?
Robert Paul, 1327 Schofield Street. As a person living in that area, I have normally in the past not had any reservations or hesitations or really a lot of input concerning the liquor licenses and so forth, but with the location of the new Dollar General in that area and the proximity of that store to a local motel that has had significant number of incidents concerning substances and substance abuses, I guess I have to say that I'm somewhat concerned with granting a liquor license to someplace that is so convenient. I think that area has had some problems in the past, and I think granting a liquor license for a place next door is probably just going to exacerbate the problems. That would be the concern I would have.
Hey, Bob, that motel's under new ownership?
I know the motel is under new ownership. The management has not changed, and I have not seen any significant improvements in clientele nor physical due to the change of ownership.
I talked to the gentleman the other day because I just talked to him the other day, and what he's saying is there's going to be a lot of changes up there eventually, but not right away.
Could happen.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened yet. I still have my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, Council. My name is Larry Pratt, 306 Thompson Avenue. In reference to what Mr. Bob is saying back here, I've lived at that residence coming up on 20 years. And in 20 years, there's been nothing but police calls, meth, domestic violence over there. What I remember, there's 2 or 3 deaths over there. A couple of years ago, there was a guy went over there. He wanted the cops to shoot him and kill him because he broke up with some young lady. There's been nothing but significant crime at that place next door to that. Where's the dollar store is going to be? I'm not okay with it, okay? I've had people come across my property, going to 2 different houses to get drugs, to go there. If they're going to go get their drugs across my property, just imagine if they got to walk around this corner to come back. They run out of alcohol, they can just go get some more. I don't want to see our police force taxed any more than they have to. They've already been putting up with this kind of crap for 20 years. You know, I live there. I'm a taxpayer. I think it's the wrong thing to do, personally. I just think it's the wrong thing to do. Not every social event we have in town has to have alcohol involved in it, okay? There's no reason for that. If we want Mayberry back, then we need to make a stand and say, you know what? I don't think one little store out of the whole dollar store conglomerate nationwide is going to go out of business just because one did not get a liquor's license. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Carl Bockert, 1317 Sherman. I too would like to address this. This is a block and a half from my residence. That complete area up there is all, yes, it's zoned for commercial, but 90% of it is residential or has to do with people staying or living. Whether it's a motel, an apartment building, or just the residential. If you go down by the plunge, there is a source there that already has it, and I don't think that having it another 3 blocks away is necessary as a source for getting your liquor. I think that right now it's a really nice store. It has really added a lot to the community. It is convenient. The merchandise that they sell has been appropriate for the residences and the people it's serving, but I really feel that it shouldn't go into being a competition with other liquor suppliers. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Anyone else? All right, close the public hearing at 7:59. Need a motion to approve, disapprove, or table the application for Dollar General.
Is this just for the new one or for both of them combined?
new one.
It's for the new one only? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The old one already has a...
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay.
Yes.
I was going to suggest maybe a consideration to table for tonight, but my question is, has there been any conversation with Chief Winscott over past problems with that area and what the police department thoughts are on having a liquor license so nearby?
I haven't had any.
As a public safety issue, we, have spoke with the police department about issues that have been in that area at that specific location.
Have they given any indication as to what their thoughts are concerning this particular liquor license?
We have not talked to them as a public safety aspect about this licensing as of yet, no.
If the opportunity were to table this, I would suggest that possibly bringing their input into it to see what their thoughts. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to table this to collect some more information, possibly from the owner of what the new owner of the property or motel, I'm not quite sure if they call it motel, hotel, see what their ideas are as far as cleaning it up and the problems that they're having, collect some more information as far as local, as we have heard, residents right in that area, and from the police department.
I'll second that motion.
And I just want to say that I appreciate that Craig brought up some information that he's talked with the motel owner.
It's Mr. Iverson.
And what's unfortunate tonight is we're talking about one business and it's being impacted by another business, but the fact is the two are, one is impacted by the other and the community is being impacted by the other. So I think it's wise that we do table it. I know that the question was asked, have we talked to our police chief about the situation? I have had a very brief discussion with Chief Winscott, but we have not had time to pull any information together. She is here tonight, but I don't really feel that it's appropriate to put her on the spot and ask her for a detailed assessment that really needs to be appropriate for this discussion. It's unfortunate that the discussion for Dollar General's wine and beer license is focusing on its commercial neighbor, but that's the reality of that neighborhood, and I appreciate what Councilman Pratt brought forth as a councilman and as a citizen. I appreciate Bob and Carl, what they brought forth, so I really appreciate the opportunity to table this and hopefully get some more information on from the owner of the motel and from our police department.
So Dave, you made the motion, and JR, you second?
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion?
I think this should also give the community time to actively get their input into us as well. Now is going to be the time for everyone to speak up and let us know what they want to happen. in that neck of the woods.
Mr. Iverson's going to be gone till the first of the year. So if anybody wants to talk to him, it's going to have to be after that.
So is he the owner or the manager?
The owner.
He's the owner.
Of the
They also
motel,
bought the
not the
motel
Of the motel.
across the
license.
street from Dollar General.
My understanding is that both one or both of them were supposed to be long-term living type facility.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that Mr. Iverson has a cell phone or a possible phone for wherever he's at, that we should be able to contact him.
That I don't know.
If not, then we will go with information given by the police department and those that are living in that area. We could sit here and make all, if we don't live in those areas and don't know how it impacts them, we need to listen to what our citizens and the police department has to say to us.
Craig said you talked with him recently?
Yeah.
Did he contact
Just
you?
last week.
Did he contact you? You contacted him?
I got a hold of him.
So you have his number?
I do not. I went up to the motel. He wanted to speak with me, so.
All right.
So he wanted to make it into long-term living.
That's what he's making it
That's not a
into.
change from what it has been.
I'm just,
We have a long-term living situation for a lot of those people. I've seen people
Right.
in husbands there for the last 5 years.
Right.
I walk by there 2 or 3 times a day.
I'm just saying what he said. I don't know.
Okay.
Don't mean to put you on the spot.
Don't beat me up, you guys. I don't know.
We won't hurt the messenger.
But we will beat you up.
Wasn't beating you up, just wondering if you had called him, and then we could call him
No, he
again.
called
but-
me and asked me to come
All
up and
right.
talk to him.
So there's a manager on site?
Yes.
All right, we could ask the manager how to get a hold of the owner. All right. Any
You
other-
should still have his number on your phone if he called you.
He didn't call him, he went there.
Oh. Well, he called him.
All right, any other comments?
The number should still be on the phone.
So a motion has been made to table the application from Dolgen Midwest for a new on-off sale retail malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license, and a new on-off sale retail wine and cider license. Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Dave Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Larry Pratt,
Yes.
Craig Romey,
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes to table the application, and we'll figure out a way to get in touch with the owner of the property so we can have discussion with him. So we're back to communications from the public. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council that hasn't done so yet? All right. Need a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion, we go into executive session in accordance with SDCL 1-25-2-1 personnel.
Second.
Discussion?
Was we going to vote on that resolution?
Yeah, it's later in the agenda.
Okay.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Hope this is very short, and it will be just the council and myself that will be in executive session. All right, Misty, it looks like we're all back at 8:29. Need a motion to approve personnel actions A through D.
I make a motion to approve personnel actions A through D.
Second. Got that.
I have moved by Huddleston, seconded by Johnston.
I started first.
Pratt?
My finger's up.
Okay, so I've moved by Romey, seconded by Pratt.
There you go.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
We'll go with that.
Discussion? Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. We tried. David Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Larry Pratt.
Yes.
Craig Romey.
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone.
Welcome aboard.
Takes us to ordinances. First item A, second reading of ordinance 1237.
That's why I'm surprised there's not. Here we go again.
She said that was at the meeting house.
Saves a lot of time.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1237 and ordinance revising Title 9 General Regulations, Chapter 95, Fire Prevention and Protection, 93.06 Fireworks.
Second the motion.
Discussion?
Maybe we should look at this a little bit more. We've had discussion tonight from the public. I know you've worked on it.
No, that's, as I said before, we had 9 members of the public at Public Safety before we drafted this last version that we voted on and that you're voting on, or may vote on as a second reading tonight. It is a difficult issue. As I've said many times talking about this, the issues that we're trying to address are the health issues of many of our residents, as well as the fire protection and prevention issues that because of the proximity that we are to the Black Hills National Forest. What you have before you is quite similar to what the ordinance was back in 2018. So what we have discovered with the fireworks ordinance is probably half the people will not like what we write. We've tried to listen as best we can. Tim, I appreciate what you've brought tonight. And again, I'll just say that based on the input we had, we put together obviously the best solution that we thought was out there, or we wouldn't have put it down. So I'll let the rest of the council add to what they have to say.
I concur with Bill. We've had a lot of public comment on this at our public safety meetings. And no, we will not please everybody on this ordinance at all. But we're trying to make it the best what we see possible for our city and our surrounding area. And I think the hard work that especially Bill has put into this deserves, let's go with it. And we know we're not going to please everyone. And thank you, Bill, for all your hard work.
I want to say thank you, Bill, for all your hard work and the public that did take the time to come and talk to us. But you also have to realize that fireworks is just a small portion of celebrating our Independence Day. There's family get-togethers, picnics, parades. We've had dances in the past. So fireworks isn't the only way to celebrate our independence.
And the city puts on a magnificent show. So I'm certain that if all of those people that did spend those huge amounts of money for those really big fireworks would like to add to the fund, we can certainly extend that show.
I concur with Bill here. I mean, there's just been a lot of conversation about this. I'm a veteran. I understand what happens, what goes down. I'm one of the ones that huddle under my bed, and I'm in my own way. I'm willing to deal with it for a few hours if I have to.
As a Native American, I would like to add this statement also, not in a negative way, but just to remind everybody too, remember where some of your independence came from. My people were killed for part of that. So let's keep things in perspective here when we talk about things. Thank you.
Bob?
Thank you. Robert Paul, 1327 Schofield Street. I wanted to make comments that, along the lines of what Bill has just said, you're not going to please everybody with this ordinance. I think, by and large, the work that has been done on this ordinance, I would very highly commend. Tim and I had conversation a little bit while you were on your executive sessions, and he and I reached a point to where we know we are going to agree to disagree. In following Linda's comments, if you really feel as though you got to shoot off fireworks to celebrate the 4th of July, I think you got some soul searching to do. I don't think you really need it. I don't feel deprived if I don't shoot off fireworks to celebrate the birth of the country. There's other ways to do it. I think the allowances that you have made for what fireworks could be shot off is satisfactory to most people. The people that were shooting the huge mortars and aerials are going to do it next year. No ordinance that you can do is going to stop everybody from doing exactly what they want to do. My comment would be those people that would like to have repeated what they did last year, like Deb said, let them contribute the money that they're going to spend on the things that they can't shoot to the city to expand the fireworks display that the city does. And then I think we could take steps to maybe enlarge the area of being able to see without creating a safety problem along the highway. Maybe moving in temporary bleachers or something up along the library might be one approach to take. But anyway, I want to commend the work that was done on this ordinance. I'm with you. The only other thing that I had mentioned at the committee hearing was, rather than having the single day, maybe having a couple days. But I think the approach that you've come up with is certainly workable. I want to applaud the effort of the entire council on it, and Bill, especially you, for seeking the input at the committee hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Tim, did you want to add anything?
I'm Tim Tesher, 236 South Dakota Street. I guess I looked at this, and like I said before, I served on the city council, and we went over all this at basically the same thing. And to my recollection, what the existing ordinance is the one that we came up with back then. So, and they couldn't enforce it then. So now you're just going to put more stuff, limits on the fireworks stuff to an ordinance that you can't enforce anyway. And what are the fines and offenses? I've never heard of anybody paying a fine for shooting off fireworks. So, I guess I believe that it's just kind of the whole thing is just a waste of time in reality to cry it, because next year we're probably going to all be right back here after the 4th of July because, and by the way, the veterans, my daughter and my son, both suffer from PTSD for the time they spent overseas. And they realize that during the 4th of July there's going to be fireworks going off, and it bothers them. But they know that it's going to happen, so they take measures to combat that, rather than coming before a council and saying, you guys can't shoot off fireworks because it bothers me because I have PTSD. So anyway, you gentlemen, what I've said my piece. That's all I came here to do. And like I say, you did some good work. I'm not going to cut you down for that at all. but I think they backed you into a corner and you've painted yourself in there. So you go ahead and vote. And to the chief of police, whoever she is or wherever she is, if she's here, good luck to you on this 4th of July, because you're going to need a whole lot more than 4 police officers if you're going to enforce this thing. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you on all counts, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Bob. We're working on the more than 4 police officers. So.
I'm an old man, and this just having a police force of 4 is a little scary for an old guy like me. Do I hold the gun to block my doors or live right next to
All right. Thank you. Council, any other comments?
I just think that the police department's going to be really busy next year. I really do.
No matter what the number on the force is.
All right.
They're just going to be busy.
Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. David Burris.
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston.
Yes.
Deborah Johnston.
Yes.
Bill Lukens.
Yes.
Larry Pratt.
Yes.
Craig Romey.
No.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, the motion passes. On to resolutions. Item number A, Resolution 2021-26, contingency transfer resolution. Can I get a motion on that, please?
Make a motion.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve 2021-26 contingency transfer resolution.
Second.
Discussion.
What are we putting in the general fund for? Just whatever we need it for?
No, it's going to the Mueller Center. The general fund is the contingency, what you have left in the budget. So it's not going in there, that's where it's coming from.
Oh, it's come from 40, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So $1,000 for legal fees and $3,500 for Mueller Center equipment repairs and maintenance?
Coming from the general fund contingency.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Resolution item B, Resolution 2021-27, a resolution to amend the citywide resolution, or citywide fee resolution.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-27, a resolution to amend the citywide fee resolution to adjusting hours for airport courtesy car use.
Can I add a correction to that? There's more on the resolution than that. When I wrote that in the minutes, that's all we were doing, but it's also the 2022 utility rates and various Southern Hills Golf Course user fees.
And the 2022 utility rates and various Southern Hills Golf Course user rates.
Perfect.
Fees.
Second.
Discussion. Misty has it in your packet, the water usage fees. Those are the automatically incremented fees from 2019 through 2023, and those were recommended to us by, help me out, Misty?
Jim Johnson with the Midwest, with the water group, Midwest something.
Yep.
We did the water rate study with him, and he helped us recommend these.
Yep. And Jennifer with the Black Hills Council of Local Governments was talking about for municipalities to qualify for funding through those folks, through the state water folks. They're looking to make sure that our water rates are appropriate, and his recommendations was to increase our rates annually by 1.9% to make sure that we're doing what we need to as a city to generate the revenue to take care of our water and wastewater systems. So that's what that's about. The Southern Hills Golf Course rates, those came from Jason Happy, taking a look at what the rates are, and he applied a percentage to all those particular fees to raise them, again, on a yearly basis. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. So that takes us to the last resolution, Resolution 2021-28. That's the one that we amended the agenda for. And the language, when we were talking with Jennifer, the recommended language is in the first paragraph, whereas the City of Hot Springs has determined it is necessary to proceed with improvements to the city's drinking water system to address storage and source needs.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-28 regarding the resolution authorizing an application for financial assistance, authorizing the execution and submittal of the application, and designating an authorized representative to certify and sign payment requests.
Second motion.
Discussion? Misty, do you have the language that Jennifer was recommending that we change that to?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, again, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. On to new business. New business item A, possible motion and discussion to approve updates to the City of Hot Springs personnel policy.
Make a motion to approve the updates to the City of Hot Springs personnel policy. Updates primarily include language related to the recent approval of medical cannabis.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item B, a possible motion discussion to approve updates to the City of Hot Springs procurement policy.
I'll make a motion to approve updates to the City of Hot Springs procurement policy. Updates primarily include the addition of bid protest procedures.
Second.
Discussion. Those are big policies. No questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item C, a possible motion and discussion to approve a $200 bonus for Evans Plunge Mineral Springs.
I'll make a motion to approve a $200 bonus for Evans Plunge Mineral Springs lifeguards, front desk, and custodial staff for the 2022 calendar year. In order to qualify, an employee must work a total of 300 hours in the dedicated position as scheduled over the 10-week peak season between May 1st and August 31st.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. I'd like to discuss it. Do we have it in the budget? We didn't budget that for next year.
She does believe that she can pay for this within her already approved budget.
The custodial staff isn't part-time, are they?
Yes, they are.
They don't have full-time?
Tom Nas is the building, he's the only full-time person in charge of the building. All the custodians are part-time.
Well, you know, I've went over this last couple of years. I voted no because I don't believe the city should do that unless they do it for every part-time employee. Now, this is just getting more ridiculous. If I was some part-time employee with the golf course or the city parks or something, busted my hump at 100-degree weather outside, and knowing that these people are going to get $200 bonus for just staying at work, I wouldn't be working for the city. I'd find a job someplace else. To me, that's not right. To me, we're kind of slapping the face of those other part-time employees.
My concern, I've talked to Linda about this, is it's my understanding there are people at the plunge that want to work, that want hours. They're being told no, and now we're cut back to 2 days a week that we don't have nobody working, but yet we got employees that are wanting to work. I just can't see doing something like this if we already got employees that want to work, that are asking to work. So, Jeff, do you have any comments?
I've spoken, I know, to both of you on this matter, and I absolutely have the same concerns that Councilman has voiced. Are you asking for my opinion on what you just said or on this particular motion?
Whatever you think, sir.
I tend to agree that we should not isolate one facility, one program, even though they do have to have an additional certification for that job. That should be calculated into their pay. That's just my opinion because you asked for it, and I wasn't here when this came up to committee, so I don't know the background exactly.
In the past, was front desk and custodial part of that, or was that, if I remember right, that was just lifeguards?
Just lifeguards.
Yeah, just lifeguards.
Otherwise, they don't have to have any special training. I mean,
so
to
why
run a
is
cash
it all of
register.
a sudden that we are doing this for front desk and custodial staff? I mean, we can't keep a custodian? Is that what they're trying to tell us? Is that what that is?
You're addressing the
committee chair.
Yeah, I don't know, Councilwoman. If
What say
wanna...
you, Linda?
She has been having a hard time keeping staff there, and I think that also includes the custodians. They're part-time. The thing that I've been coming up with since July is the people are wanting more hours. They're not asking for an increase in pay. They're wanting more hours, and they're not getting it. And, the director has her reasons.
And you were saying, Larry, now you two are more knowledgeable in this, that's why I'm asking.
Yes.
But you're saying that there's folks that are wanting to work. You just said there's folks that want more hours.
Yeah,
why is it that we can't take some of those folks and put them at the front desk or custodial?
We do have one.
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out how to clean. And I'm sure that it is pretty reasonable to ask everybody to take an hour or so and get trained on a cashier's.
Well, I think, a lot of her front desk people are just part-time. I haven't talked to the front desk people, but it's my understanding that they're part-time, only want to work 1 or 2 days a week. And I've mainly talked to the lifeguards, and they're the ones that are indicating that they want more hours per week.
The lifeguards want more hours per week.
Look, I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there, okay? I know I've already approached you, Mayor. I've had one individual approach me already and told me that they want more hours, and basically, in a nutshell, they want more hours. If they can't get more hours, they're going to leave. And that's three lifeguards. So that's what I was told.
Okay, so it doesn't make any sense to me to bribe these folks to stay at their job that we could actually take some of our other employees and put there. And I'm not saying that we have to pay whoever is getting the extra hours more money. If they're going to do custodial work, whatever that pays, that's what it pays. Whatever front desk pays, that's what it pays. But if you want more hours, that makes sense to me to talk to those folks first before we start basically bribing those other folks to keep their job.
Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to address this, and I apologize because I was not here in this position when this came up, and I would have addressed the committee. Let me just, I would ask that council consider tabling this issue and allowing me to finish the review that we started yesterday. There are some issues that I need to address, and these are included in that review. And I would like an opportunity to correct these issues before we move on, before council moves on anything like this.
I have no problem tabling this.
I don't
I
either.
understand the whole situation with the lifeguards because we are vested in that. But if we're going to start losing lifeguards because they want more hours and yet we're going to be basically bribing somebody to stay at the front desk or clean up the bathrooms, I got an issue with that.
As a general statement, these are the kinds of issues that should be addressed in the rate of pay. And these are not bonus issues. The bonus issues are above and beyond the normal course of duty. If we're underpaying our lifeguards, or any of our staff for that matter, we need to correct that as a pay issue and not as a bonus issue.
But you're not going to correct that if it's more hours they're wanting as opposed to pay. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying, Councilman. We'll see.
Okay.
I'll amend my motion to table this, what number are we on? CC.
Deb,
Deb,
I think Councilman Alder.
I can
You had something to
say
say.
after you say that, but like my statement, I stand by it and I'll vote no every time. Unless every part-time employee gets that bonus, I will never vote for it. Because it's not fair for the part-time employees of Hot Springs.
So I will amend my motion to table the $200 bonus for the Evan Plunge Mineral Springs lifeguards, front desk, and custodial staff for the 2022 calendar year. In order to qualify, an employee must work a total of 300 hours in the dedicated position as scheduled over the 10-week peak season between May 1st and August 31st.
Second.
Any other comments from council? So what I would like to add is we have been trying to address how to staff the shortage at the plunge for 2 years. So we can say we're bribing folks, and I don't see that we're bribing them. We're recognizing that we're having a problem staffing Evans Plunge. Jeff is correct. We have a number of other positions in the city that I think we're going to have to look at as far as a council, as a city, what the correct pay for those positions are. But there are other part-time positions across the city that we don't have problems staffing. And here we do. And that's the conversation we need to have. Larry had raised the question with me. He's raised it with Jeff. I've talked with Jeff a little bit about it. So at this point, I think we need to give Jeff an opportunity to have the discussion and try to identify what's going on. And if we do have employees that want to work, we've budgeted for the plunge to be fully staffed. Right. So if they want to work, I don't know why we don't have the budget for them to work. So we need to have those conversations. But if people literally don't want to work, then we have no option but to close the plunge, which we don't want to do. We want it open 7 days a week. And if that involves bribing somebody so that we can have it open, if that's the phrase you want to use, then that's what we need to do. We need to address it on a department-by-department issue and not penalize one department for struggling to staff because another department isn't struggling to staff their employees. So I appreciate that you want to continue having the discussion and that you want to table it to give Jeff an opportunity to look into that with the department head for the plunge. So thank you for that.
When I worked down there as a lifeguard for a few years, the lifeguards are also trained for the front desk. Why can't they be cross-trained for that now?
She might like to do that, but she has a shortage of lifeguards.
Well, must not. If lifeguards aren't getting enough hours, she must not be short in lifeguards.
What's going on?
That don't make sense. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't.
So,
and I apologize for using bribery, but if you look out from outside window looking in, It's kind of what it resembles. You understand what I'm saying? I don't mean to be rude, or I'm not trying to be mean in any way, but the thing is, if there's issues, and Jeff, I didn't know you was already trying to work on this. I'd have kept my mouth shut probably. But the thing being, from what I have heard that's sitting at the table right now, just doesn't sound right to me. So I apologize for using that comment.
All right. So we'll give Jeff an opportunity to continue the discussion and come back with some facts and recommendations.
Thank you.
So Deborah amended her motion to table the approval of the $200 bonus for the Evans Plunge, Mineral Springs, lifeguards, front desk, and custodial staff. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of tabling the motion?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item D, a possible motion and discussion to approve 2022 Evans Plunge Mineral Springs assignment of lease site for billboards.
I make a motion to approve 2022 Evans Plunge Mineral Springs assignment of lease site for billboard located south of Maverick Junction on U.S. Highway 18-385 with Gary and Sharon Romey.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
The motion passes. New business item E, possible motion and discussion to approve 2022 Evans Plunge Mineral Spring assignment for lease site.
I make a motion to approve the 2022 Evans Plunge Mineral Springs assignment of lease site for billboard located south of Minnetonka Junction on U.S. Highway 18 with Scott Phillips.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item F, a possible motion discussion to approve budgeted 2022 cost of living adjustment increase.
Make a motion to approve the budgeted 2022 COLA increase of 30 cents per hour for all full-time employees effective January 1st, 2022.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm assuming this doesn't have anything to do with Coca-Cola, right?
Right.
Careful assuming. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item G, possible motion discussion to approve 2022 hourly rate increase of 50 cents an hour.
I make a motion to approve 2022 hourly rate increase of 50 cents per hour for all part-time and seasonal employee effective 1/1/22. The amount is equal to the amount of the required state minimum wage increase.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item H, possible motion discussion to approve an automatic budget supplement.
Make a motion to approve an automatic budget supplement of $4,533.08 to the additional, sales tax fund 212-21200-42200, reimbursement revenue received from AIP grant number 3-46-0020-15-2021.
Second.
Discussion? Misty, you were good enough to tell me the specifics of that particular grant, and I've managed to forget.
It is the construction administration and site development for the 10-unit T-hangar at the airport.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item I, possible motion and discussion to authorize the finance officer to move the $10,000 budgeted as a Shedco donation.
I'll make a motion to authorize the finance officer to move the $10,000 budgeted as a Shedco donation from 212 fund transfers out to the 101 fund to cover the donation as indicated during the 2021 budgeting.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The motion.
Craig, I'm sorry, was that you? Thank you.
The motion passes. Committee reports, administrative and finance.
The next meeting will be January 3rd at 1 p.m. in the Mueller Civic Center.
Thank you. Airport advisory, Bill?
Next Airport Advisory Committee will meet Thursday, January 6th, 8 a.m. at the airport.
Thank you. Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management, Larry?
Meeting started at 7 p.m., all present except one member. Treasurer's report was given. Monthly landfill expenses. The landfill has a 16.9% in expenses year-to-date 2021 than year-to-date 2020. Monthly landfill deposits. The landfill has a 3.03% increase in deposits year-to-date 2021 than year-to-date 2020. The credit card payment report was given. Contract and manager's report. The inspection of the landfill by Stephen Kropp states that the operation and maintenance is acceptable within the South Dakota solid waste laws and rules and the permit conditions. An update of the storm water prevention plan implementation was given. F&G report, Phase 2 cell closure is done and doing great. The annual water testing report will be discussed at next meeting. Update on tire shredding grant was discussed. Meeting ended at 8:30 p.m. Next meeting will be January 13th, 2022, Mueller Center at 7 p.m.
Any questions for Larry? Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Historic preservation, Deborah?
The next meeting is Wednesday, January 5th, 5 p.m. at the Mueller Center.
Thank you. Evans Plunge Advisory, Linda?
Okay. The Evans Plunge Advisory Committee met on December 9th, 2021. The committee chair, myself, was absent. Members Chris Hansen, Kathy Wren, Okoye Zimiga, Tom Nas, Allison Ritterbusch, Maris Smith, Barry McNair. Absent was Troy Lurs, and Brad Zachu was in his place. They introduced Barry McNair as a potential committee member. Chris has recommended Barry to Mayor Nelson for appointment to our committee. We had a discussion and update of the Hot Springs High School collaboration on training and classes. Brad provided highlights of discussion that is going on at the school with regard to programming. It appears in the fall of 2022 would be the likely time for class startups. Allison also provided a synopsis of a recent conversation she had with Cody. Review of monthly saves. Okoye, no saves since the last committee meeting. In water life saving training has now begun now that Okoye has her lifeguard instructor. We would like to open on Wednesdays, but we are not comfortable with the possibility of having to take that day away again. Allison indicated that folks interested in lifeguarding could practice with the Fall River swim team for 300 prep and etc. Update on the Fall River swim team, Allison. The team is donating a VESA trainer, which is dry land swimming trainer, and lifeguard tubes to the plunge. We already have 8 state qualifiers, and another team has asked to have some training by our coaches. The state has broken into 2 age groups again this year, 12 and under in February and 13 and up in the first weekend in March. Likely we can begin our closure on Monday, March 7th, 2022. Our hope, since we are closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now, that perhaps closure might only need to be for 1 week. The next meeting will be January 13th, 2022, noon at the Evans Plunge.
Did you say the 13th?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda.
What happened to the other person that wanted to come in and be on your committee?
I had missed this meeting because she changed the date. And so she already had this guy at the meeting and announced that she had submitted his name to Mayor Nelson.
Why weren't you informed that she changed the date?
I have no idea.
I just want to bring that up.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm done.
Okay.
Parks Recreation, Larry?
Next meeting will be January the 5th, 2022 at 2 p.m. here at the Mueller Center. Everybody is invited.
Thank you, Larry. Planning and Zoning, Deborah?
Okay, up top, I have to apologize that I didn't do the November minutes at the last council meeting because I apparently left them on my printer and I didn't think I had anything to tell you. So I tonight have 2 months worth of minutes. So for the November 17th meeting, it was adjourned at 6 p.m. at the Hot Springs City Hall with Don Olsted presiding. Present were Don Olsted, James Forbord, Allison Ritterbusch, Dwight Wienia, and Joni Hill. Guests were Terry Link and Dwayne Whitman, and staff was myself, Scott Sogi, and Carrie Pyle. Minutes were approved from the previous meeting. Chairman Olsted reviewed new business items on the October agenda as there were only 3 members at the October meeting. So summary and brief for that was for access to their property on Sandpiper. Dr. Damon and Stephanie Danzler are going to discuss their plan with the Country Club Estate subdivision to be included in the Boulder Falls subdivision and be annexed by City of Hot Springs. Scott Sogi is working with them to establish the fire access. The Commission's approval of Nathan Simpson's side yard setback variance request. Graham McPherson's Myler plat changes were approved as it was necessary to be resubmitted because of timing issues. Boulder Falls Business Park Lot 5-28R and Tract 5R plat revisions were approved, and resident Martin Light is erecting a 12 by 25 foot additional dwelling unit at 843 North 24th Street. They've met the setback requirements and will not have issues with water or sewer. The property is to be replatted and the request resubmitted. Under new business, replat of property adjacent to the airport. Owner is looking for City Council to approve the replat. Moved by Wienia, seconded by Forbord to recommend approval of the replat to the council. Chairman Olsted requested comments from the public. Introduction from Terry Link, giving work history of herself and her spouse who have recently moved to Hot Springs. As a potential Hot Springs business owner, Ms. Link explained the purpose and plans for the property she is interested in, which is located in the historic zone. Sogi requested basic layout drawings of her plans. Olsted recommended contacting the DOT's plans for roadworks and take into consideration the drainage from the wall at the property, back of the property. And specifically, she's looking at the vault property to put a mobile food unit, make a mobile food unit a stationary unit, I guess. So that's still in process. Old business, review of October meetings as above. Discussion options for additional dwelling units within the City of Hot Springs. The ADU is defined as additional dwelling unit to be allowed on a residential lot that is independent of the primary dwelling unit. Details regarding setbacks, fire code, off-street parking, lot coverage ratio, and structure criteria were discussed. Reference was made to other municipalities, TIFs, modular Dakota Plex units, and manufactured housing. ADU may be added to the allowed uses in Hot Springs Ordinance. Ongoing annexation discussion of reference to the 3-mile limit and included consulting with the new city administrator when he becomes established in his new position. Olsted stated that the only positive way to proceed with annexation is to hire an independent consultant. That meeting was adjourned at 7:30 p.m. Then on December 15th, the committee started at 6 p.m. at City Hall with Don Olsted presiding. Present was Don Olsted, Dwight Wienia, James Forbord, Wayne Hageman, and Allison Ritterbusch. Scott Sogi, Carrie Pyle, and Sarah Beckton were present. Came to order at 6:03, moved by Hagan and by Forbord to approve the previous minutes. And to approve the second item under summary and brief on the 11:17 minutes to amend that the attending members approved of the building inspector improvement plan of the yard setback reconstruction of Nate Simpson's. Okay, new business, terms of the Planning and Zoning Commission members, discussion of the number of members going forward. The information was confirmed in terms of the members who were present were confirmed. Dollar General vacating of access road, discuss the solution for the road on the south side of the 1111 Sherman Street Dollar General building that was incorrectly put down by the Dollar General contractors. The plans submitted were correct, but the road was not built correctly. Residential water service split into 2 structures, tiny homes, ADUs, water, sewer, garbage. The discussion involved the water meters and utility billing for properties with more than 1 residential dwelling. Sogi referenced ADUs in Rapid City and will be researching other municipalities in South Dakota. Currently, the Rapid City Ordinance states one of the dwellings has to be occupied by the owner of the property. The Hot Springs Ordinance, Chapter 51, and billing process will need to be changed to accommodate this type of situation. Sogi said there are currently 3 properties with this type of situation being reviewed in Hot Springs. The Grandview plat, lot line revision, lot L21, B4, replatting of lots 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 into 3 lots, McMahon Tract 1, Tract 2, and Tract 3, located on the corner of North 23rd Street and Wilson Avenue. Replatting consists of removing 3 lot lines and adding 2 others. Moved by Olsted, seconded by Ritterbusch to recommend approval of this replat if setback ordinances are followed and access to utilities are directly available to each lot. Boulder Falls lot line revision, lot GC41, removing the interior lot line on property located on the corner of Sandpiper Drive and Meadowlark Drive, converting 2 lots into 1. Moved by Forbord and seconded by Hageman to recommend approval of the removal of the interior lot line as long as the road assessment is taken care of. Under old businesses, additional dwelling units, ongoing discussions regarding options, discussed as above, and annexation continues to be an ongoing discussion and will be brought forward to our city administrator. Meeting was adjourned at 7:22. The next meeting is Wednesday, January 19th, 6 p.m. at City Hall.
Any questions for Deborah?
Yeah, run that thing about the little bitty homes again.
About what?
The little bitty homes, the person has to live in them.
A lot of people want to put like mother-in-law units or rentals in their backyards. And, it's a question of how many square foot the property is. and whether they have, like, there are some old ones here in town where the meters are all one.
So what you're saying is that the ordinance is going to have to be changed to fit that? Is that what you said?
They have to be written, I believe, to accommodate and to be specific, to allow them with the restrictions.
Thanks.
I was going to say, you want to let us in on the conversation?
I just thought we had a conversation about small houses at one time, and it was a negative response to it or something. I don't.
Yeah, you're talking about tiny homes?
Tiny homes, yeah.
And one of the discussions we'd had before is if it has the mobile home frame, if you will, with the tongue, that type is not allowed within the city limits, if I'm right.
So these little homes have to be on a foundation?
Yes. They'll be permanent units.
The additional dwelling units are different from a tiny home.
Okay. Hey, I just want to make sure my brain is on straight with that.
Well, the only reason I ask that is because, like Johnny said, if it has a tongue and stuff, it's like a trailer house.
Right.
And a trailer house, you can't bring into Hot Springs unless it's grandfathered in already on that lot. But a tiny home, if it's not on a foundation, I don't see the difference between that and a trailer house.
A tiny home or an additional living unit wouldn't have an axle under it, right?
No, it'd be on a permanent foundation.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If it, concrete foundation, they have to set it on that.
Right.
They can't block it up like.
No,
it's got to be permanent.
And then the property cannot be divided because of the minimum amount of square footage of the lot per dwelling, per se. So we wouldn't be chopping up regular lots into tinier lots. So that's part of what will be dealt with, was that you can't put two houses on a single house lot and then think in the future you can divide that and sell off the little house in the back.
That affect the taxes?
I'm sure it will. Yeah.
Like having a garage.
Any other questions?
When's your next meeting?
January 17th, 6 PM at City Hall. Or January 19th, Wednesday.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yep.
Public safety, Bill, JR?
Okay, public safety met today at 10 a.m. here at the Mueller Center. Present were myself, JR, Deborah, Chief Winscott, City Administrator Jeff Temple, Safety Coordinator Lori Sherrard, and Fall River County Emergency Manager Frank Maynard. Members of the public present were Hal Glanville and Jack Peterson from the Hot Springs Police Department. Regarding communications from the public, a member of the public was there to express his appreciation of the city's crew's effort to remove snow from the crosswalk access points after the recent snowstorm. He also brought up two issues with sidewalks, and the city administrator and the safety coordinator took an action to address those issues. In her update regarding the police department, Chief Winscott informed us that the 2021 Durango is waiting for one part from Suntech, and the vehicle should be ready in mid-January. The 2022 Durango and its associated equipment have been ordered, and so delivery for in-service should be a lot quicker than the 2021. We're working with the Fall River County Emergency Manager for a grant application for in-car computers from Homeland Security. We're somewhat optimistic. Fall River County Sheriff's Office made that request this past year, and I think they received their in-car computers, so we're hoping that we may be successful for our police department with this application. So far, the chief has received 2 applications for the open officer positions. These positions have been posted at local colleges that have a law enforcement program, as well as the city website and on Facebook. And thanks to Jeff, we're also considering posting them on the free part of Indeed. And if no further applications are received, we may have to review what our starting wage is for that position, and we're gathering information on that issue now. So nothing for sure, but just heads up to the council on that issue. Because with our recent action tonight promoting Officer Shively to Captain Shively, we now have 3 open officer positions. We've got 3 applications for reserve officer, so we'll be working through those. We reviewed, the police department asked to receive what the street department, what information they wanted on snow accumulations, when they wanted to be notified after hours. The chief also informed the committee regarding her recommendation to promote Officer Shively, which you acted on tonight. And the interviews for the school resource officer will continue tomorrow morning. Officer Peterson has passed the reciprocity test, so he's currently scheduled for his 1-week training in Pierre the week of January 31st. That will take place only if we can get somebody else on staff so that we have more than 4 officers patrolling. And in November, the department responded to 499 calls. Under old business, we've been talking for some time about compliance with our daycare ordinance, and I'm going to look to the mayor to make sure I don't misstate what I think the information he gave me, is that the family daycare provider that's on Clark Alley is currently working to complete all the required paperwork, and that submission will probably be coming in probably later this month or at the first of the year. Our other provider that we had at South Chicago and Houston Avenue is no longer in business, so we're about to be in 100% known compliance. Regarding our efforts to encourage the public to make sure they have house numbers on, thanks to Deb, we've got some verbiage that will go out on the February water bills. We've generated some wording that will be put on the city website, and we also hope to put probably a similar wording on a newspaper ad. And we also want to be able to work with Scott to make sure that as building permits are issued, that requirement for 4-inch house numbers are also included in that information. Under new business, we talked about snow removal, specifically on sidewalks in front of commercial properties. The city administrator will be generating a notice discussing snow removal responsibilities, focusing really on the ADA issues, American with Disabilities Act issues. And we'll be looking to put an ad in the newspaper as well as on our website and Facebook pages. Basically, what our ordinance calls for is that to get the snow off the sidewalk, not just a shovel width. And so that write-up will encourage everyone to conform to that ordinance. We discussed snow removal after this last major snow events, and I just want to acknowledge the great effort that our city crews did in removing the snow from the streets and the crosswalk access points and the other areas that they're responsible for. And just so you know, I think we have 3 people that actually do the shovel work. So it's not like we have a massive army out there removing snow. But in all of their hard work, we have had some frustrated residents communicate with some of the council members regarding their driveways being blocked with snow from those removal activities. And we do want the public to know that the crews do try to minimize this, and they'll continue to try to minimize that. This was an exceptionally large snow event, and we will continue to look for ways that, mechanical ways that maybe we can do a better job of addressing that in the future, but that's not an easy task in a very compact community that we have. The committee also will be discussing goals and objectives to be pursued by the committee in the coming months and identify future budget impacts. What we want to do is not just address the things that come up via complaints or concerns on a month-by-month basis, but take a deeper look into things like our pre-disaster mitigation plan, some of the bigger events coming down, like the Highway 385 construction, and just hopefully look down the road and say, are we addressing some of the bigger issues that might be coming at us? And also, in order to better address a wider range of issues, the Public Safety Committee meeting will be moving. We'll be moving to the first Thursday of the month, and our meetings will begin at 2 p.m. With an expected duration of 2 hours. We thought moving them to Monday morning would work. It kind of did, but we end up excluding some key contributors, and it makes it, Monday morning's not a great time to have a meeting, and so we've been excluding some folks that we'd really like to have with us. So again, we'll be meeting the first Thursday of each month from 2 to 4 p.m. right here at the Mueller Center Conference Room. So our meeting adjourned at 11:30 p.m. and our next meeting will be Thursday, January 6th, 2 p.m., Mueller Center Conference Room. All are welcome.
Great notes. Nothing to add.
Any questions for Bill or JR?
Bill, can I ask what those sidewalk issues were?
There is a hole in the sidewalk in front of Many Moons, or
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Been there for years.
And during the snow removal, a piece of the diamond plate that covered a drain in front of Bank of the West, I always get that bank name wrong, the blade got it, and it just hadn't got put back yet, so the crews were going to get that put back.
I got a couple things.
Go for it.
The school officer, you said you had 2 people looking into it. You had 3, but 1 took the captain's job, so there's still 2.
Yes.
Whichever one you don't pick, are you going to see if the other one wants to become a Hot Springs police officer?
One of the individuals has already expressed that they are not interested in that.
Okay.
We've checked.
Question 2, well, it ain't really a question, it's a statement. And this is something I got on Public Works for our next meeting. A lot of problems we have, like up in my area and stuff, and other people I've talked to and driving around town, these private snow plows. People hire them to plow in front of their house. They move their cars because they don't do it when the snow plows, and they push the snow down and leave it right there in the driving lane. and the city's already done everything, and they don't come back and move that, it's still there. So I think that we ought to have their contract people, they ought to have a contract license through the city, and we ought to have a list together of what they need to do to remove snow on the city streets, Hot Springs. Number two, I've noticed a lot of this, and I don't know why, I know they're not the important sections of town, but there's a lot of people coming, this is 5th Street coming out of VA. Almost every sidewalk intersection where you come up on the sidewalks got snow in it. That the city plows just snow there, and the homeowners can't remove that kind of snow, and it's still like that. So people coming out of VA in electric wheelchairs are going down the street. So we got a problem, and I talked to Billy today about some of it, about taking a small loader around with the dump truck and try to clean some of that up before our next. And he thought it was a good idea, and I talked to the mayor about it too. So, but that's things. Hopefully, I'll be back for Public Works so we can discuss this more in that area. But I know you was talking about snow removal, and that's some problem areas that I see still around town.
Yeah, I think, go ahead, Dave.
I just had a conversation with 3 different business owners who are on board with the same thing you're saying. And it's becoming a danger for their customers. So
another problem I see for snow removal is, it's not so much the driveways, but it's the alleys. And we ask people to move their cars off the street and park someplace else if they can. And I know, I'm just using my block, I don't know about other people, but I know almost everybody on my block parks in the alley when the snow removal. Well, especially this last one, they couldn't get out of the alley. So, they got that 2 foot of snow plus whatever the city put in front of the alley. I got my pickup stuck trying to go through it, and I got 4-wheel drive. So people with cars, there ain't no way they can ever get out. And I don't know if the city needs to look at some of the alleys that's a problem area that people park in, because, I know they fix the streets, but these people can't get out of the alleys. And we got just many alleys if we do streets in Hot Springs, so it kind of creates a problem to the citizens of Hot Springs. And I know
thank you for the information. Yeah, this past event just, put 3 exclamation points behind everything, because it.
I'll tell you what, next snow, ride with me on my bus. You'll see everything talking.
Oh, I don't argue with, I don't doubt anything you're saying, and I know, Billy and his crew will do what they can, and I know that. I appreciate you guys working through Public Works with the street crews to identify that, because some of it's may be easy to overlook, but one of the things we did on the last public safety is, after discussing it with some of the folks with mobility issues, is the shovel crews reprioritized some of the things they were working on, so that things like crosswalk accesses would get hit at a higher priority than they were in the past.
Well, I do know it's a problem on 5th Street, because there's people coming in and out of the VA on electric wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I almost see it every day. I don't know if there's a guy that lives up there, but, he still can't use the sidewalk on CSU Street.
Now, when you talk about the main streets.
In your mic, please.
Yep, we can't hear you.
Now, when you talk about the main street, like River Street over here, okay, and the police station like through there, where the vault burned down, what kind of steps can be taken to get those streets cleaned off? Those sidewalks cleaned off, because a lot of your handicap mobility try to go through there, and they can't.
Well, my understanding is the property owner is still responsible for removing the snow on that sidewalk, regardless of whether there's a building there or not, and that's some of the information or some of the things that Jeff's going to be addressing in his article.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if you're an out-of-state. There's many services in our community that will go and clean those off at a cost. And if you're an absentee owner, it doesn't matter. You don't get a pass.
Thank you.
It was brought to our attention at the meeting today that if the owners do not clear their sidewalks, then if the city were to do it and then bill the landowners, it's at a cost of about $95 an hour.
Yeah, it'll be whatever the standard rate is for the people and the equipment that the city would have to use to clear it. So
it's just not possible for them to get everywhere because they have so many other places that 3 or 4 people have to clean.
And how will you collect on that, Deb?
Well, we take time to send an invoice and try to collect that way, and if they don't pay the invoice, then we either send them to collection or try to assess it to their property tax bill.
Okay.
But that takes a lot of administrative effort also.
I'm done.
I'm done.
And well done, you all.
Very well done, sir.
Thank you. Public Works, Dave, Craig? And Craig, you chewed up most of your time right here.
Yeah, I was going to say this last conversation was part of Public Works. Public Works met on December 14th. And present was Jesse Stockley, Alan, who writes worse than I do, and I don't know his last name. I can't read it. Mike, and he never put last name. Jeff, Bob DeMare, Dave Bruce, Scott Sogi, Don Alstead, Deborah Johnston, Tracy, our engineer, myself, and Jason, the sewer plant operator. First thing we talked about is Dollar General. The concrete isn't poured properly in the driveway, and that's why those 3 gentlemen were there. They're trying to vacate 2 streets, and as far as I'm concerned, everybody we talked to has no problem with that, as long as the landowner that owns land on both sides of one street comes and talks to us so we can explain a few things to him. And they said they think they can get him to do that. Then we talked about the lease and royalty agreement with Simon's Quarry up there. The city of Hot Springs owns 5 acres of prime gravel land up there, but it's landlocked, and we've collected some money off of the gravel that they've crushed off of it, and there's a whole lot there, and we don't know if we go forth with the contract or what we're going to do, because it's kind of up to us at this point. The mobile veterinarian service, we all discussed that, and nobody seems to have a problem with it. She wants to use parking lots and stuff like that. The street down there by the dog park, things like that. And she has all of her licenses because she has a business now, and she's going to keep all of her licenses, like sales tax and all that stuff. The lot on Evans Street for a community garden. We talked about that, and what I've written down that we need the people that want to start it to come talk to us.
Yes. Help us determine what their expectations are and help us determine what their expectations are and what requirements we may have to have them follow.
Then we talked about the multiple house water use service like Deb was talking about. We're looking to see how it's going to work out. And that was the end of our meeting because we talked a whole lot at the beginning, so we never discussed anything else. Our next meeting will be the 28th of December at 1 o'clock. Is it going to be at the Mueller Center or City Hall? Because last one's at City Hall.
Mueller Center.
At the Mueller Center.
Yep.
All is welcome. And if anybody has any more comments on snow removal, bring them to Public Works.
Yes. Very well done, Craig.
I'd just like to add, when it comes to the community garden, the feeling of the group is, as a city, we want to get behind the idea, not in front of the idea or ahead of the idea. It's a great idea, great opportunity. We just need to figure out, the details behind it, but would certainly like to see something like that. And the property that Craig is talking about out on Evans Street, it's property the city had to buy because of some stipulations that FEMA had put on it. So there's limited things we can do with it, and a community garden seems to be a right fit for it. So we want to figure out, again, how to get behind it and not in front of it. Golf course is currently closed, so we don't have any golf course committee meetings. Takes us to Finance Officer. Misty?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to welcome Jeff. Thanks for coming back Monday morning after your first week. We're so happy to have you.
Don't tempt him.
It's my hope he keeps coming back. I wanted to talk a little bit about new business item I that you approved tonight. It's not very timely. 2021 budget was in September of 2020. And if you remember, last minute, you asked me to find where we were going to take the $10,000 for Shedco for that year, and you approved it to come out of the 212 fund, but there's a department in the general fund for that budget. So I was reviewing end of year numbers and realized we never moved that money, so that's just you authorizing me to move that already approved subsidy we paid at the beginning of this year to Shedco from the 212 fund to the general fund.
Thank you for explaining that. That straightens my head out.
Yeah, it's not very timely. It's way after the fact that you talked about it. And we did not do that again in 2022. We budgeted for it in the fund where the department lives. So we shouldn't be seeing that again. I also wanted to give you a little report on redistricting, or the proposal to redistrict. On Friday afternoon, I sent you an email with a proposal. After attending a seminar regarding redistricting, I identified using the 2020 census data as required that a malapportionment existed in Hot Springs in a couple of our wards, and that we were required to take action. I initially asked our attorney for assistance, but I quickly found that Stacy Martin, the Fall River County GIS coordinator, was a much more informative and helpful resource on the topic. I enlisted her assistance. We estimated approximately 3 to 5 hours of her work at a rate of $20 an hour, which is much lower than our attorney rate per hour. And we began discussing and considering alternative ward boundaries to correct the malapportionments. The proposal I sent to you was created and reviewed with Mayor Nelson and our new city administrator, Jeff, and it's now ready for council review. The ordinance to change the ward boundaries will be on the January 3rd, 2022 agenda for first reading. And if you haven't gotten a chance to review the proposal, it is a well-written summary, complete with pictures, and should answer most of the questions you have about the very minimal changes that we had to make to the ward boundaries to redistrict and fix the malapportionment. I wanted to give you a little update on the Black Hills Area Finance Officer Association meeting I attended last week on Wednesday. We talked about census data in all our communities. Overwhelmingly heard that no one is completely on board with the numbers, but it's what we have. It's what we have to work with. We did talk about redistricting. This only comes around once every 10 years, so it's not something that many of us have done many times. We talked about cannabis licensing. We talked about cost of living adjustments. We talked about the ARPA funds. We talked about special event liquor licensing and permits. We talked about cats and annexation. And I have to tell you, that's probably my favorite meeting that you give me permission to go to, as I get to sit around with a group of my peers and communities facing the same things that we face. And so it's a very valuable time spent, and I appreciated getting the opportunity to go. We hadn't met face-to-face in 2 years. We typically meet quarterly, but really it's only 3 times because the 4th time is in June at the Finance Officer School. So we scheduled our next meeting in March. You'll see another travel training request from me to attend. I sent out an email notifying you that the governor granted the afternoon of Thursday the 23rd as administrative leave, so City Hall will be closing at noon that day. The policy of our city is to follow the state.
Don't we still have to vote on it?
We never do.
Used to.
We could if you wanted me to start putting that on, but there's no guarantee when that notice comes out. We just got it late last week, so. I wanted to give you a quick review of sales tax collection for 2021. At this point, in total, we exceeded expectations by $344,000. Our 2021 budget projections, which you typically project on the modest side when it comes to revenue, was $1,705,000. And as of the 7th of December, we had collected $2,049,531. So this is similar across our state. Sales tax collection has been up for many of the communities, so we're not excluded from that, and I wanted to make you aware of that. I have been working on our 2022 South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance Anniversary Rating Supplement. This 28 pages of information about property, equipment, and coverage information. We had to have that in by the 21st to get our credit on our renewal, and so I got that completely submitted today, just in time. We did receive late notice that our consortium provider for our random DOT drug testing will be done in December. So on the next council agenda, you'll see a request for an agreement with the provider that they're recommending, which would be Sanford Health. And I'm still reading through those documents, but that's to come. And then I just want to take a moment to wish y'all a Merry Christmas. Thank you for all the work you've done this year. And I'll see you next year at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Any questions for Misty?
Yeah.
So to your comment, Craig, about shouldn't we vote on that, we always have. You did vote on it tonight. New business item I, or item A, is the updates to the Hot Springs personnel policy. In the Hot Springs personnel policy, it talks about the city honors any days off that the governor grants. So by your voting for that policy, you did in fact vote to give the employees off any day that the governor grants.
I know that, but we used to have to vote as a council to do it a long time ago.
But you voted on that tonight when you approved the personnel policy.
Okay.
And that wasn't changed. It's been like that before.
No,
but probably
that language
not
wasn't
way back then.
changed. But I just point out you did vote on it.
Take the foot.
Huh? Oh, no. You have to read the personnel thing. Oh, yeah, we voted on it.
Give you a hard time.
All right. This is fun. We have a city administrator report we can hear from now.
You said fun? Did I understand you say fun?
Yes, it's been a while.
Okay, so I'm sure on your end it's fun on ours.
I got you. Okay. I got you. I just want to honestly to thank the council and the mayor for bringing me on board. I'm excited. My wife's excited. We're all happy to be here, believe it or not, even in December. I seem to pick the best month to go anywhere. And but anyway, we're happy to be here, and hopefully we can have a significant impact on quality of life. That's the big thing for us. So, but thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
We're happy you're here.
Say that again.
We're happy you're here. I want you to know that.
Well, the mayor has not stopped smiling, so I don't know what that means, but
Well, welcome to South Dakota.
thank you.
All right. I want to welcome Jeff, our new city administrator at Hot Springs. Jeff started work on December 13th and is finding his new routine. He's been busy attending committee meetings and scheduling meetings with the different department heads. If you need to talk with Jeff, his email address and phone number are the same ones as the previous city administrator. Bill has talked about this a little bit, Craig's talked about it, but on December 10th, Hot Springs had our first major snowstorm of the season. I want to thank the city employees for the long hours they worked to keep up with snow removal. Because of the amount of snow, removal took longer than usual, and in many cases, it took a second pass through town to open up our streets. I also want to thank the youth church choir for sharing their Christmas carol with the folks at City Hall last week. The first round of interviews for the school resource officer position have been completed. 3 applicants were interviewed by council members Bill Lukens, J.R. Huddleston, Police Chief Winscott, School Board Member Ryan Walls, High School and Middle School Principal Troy Lurs, and Jackie Schneers, Special Services Director. With the council's approval of Officer Shively's promotion to Captain Shively, there will be a second round of interviews with the school resource officer applicants. Those interviews are scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, December 21st. Captain Shively will conduct the interviews along with the original interview folks, asking any additional questions they may have. The SRO position is important for the Hot Springs School District and the city, and I'm hopeful that after this second round of interviews, with the school and the city working together, we'll have found the right person for the job. We're not going to rush into this, though, so if more time is needed, the group is in full agreement. We'll continue to look at additional applicants. This is the last time we'll meet as a council in 2021, and I want to personally thank you and all city employees for your dedication to the city of Hot Springs. 2021 has been a busy year, and 2022 will continue that trend. The Highway 385 road reconstruction project will begin in the spring, and the increase of folks moving to Hot Springs will challenge our infrastructure. I continue to believe in the next few years, the city of Hot Springs has exciting opportunities in front of us. We need to embrace those opportunities and not let them go unrealized. And finally, City Hall will be closed on Thursday, noon, December 23rd, thanks to a vote from council, and all day Friday, December 24th. If you're traveling for the holiday, travel safe and enjoy the Christmas holiday with family and friends. Any questions?
Mayor, I'd like to say one last thing in regards to what I had brought forth to Linda earlier. The individual that approached me was, the reason why the individual came to me was because, one, the person knew me from being in general public, and two, did trust me, and three, most of all, this person was concerned that if they spoke up, that there would be repercussions from their actions. Personally, the reason why I felt like I needed to speak up on behalf of these individuals is because none of our employees should ever feel like there's going to be repercussions for them standing up for themselves. So that's the reason why I spoke up.
I agree.
I appreciate that and agree. Anyone else?
All I want to say is Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you all for doing the motions and everything. Sometime in February, I might be able to read, so after all my surgeries. So I appreciate you guys, I really do. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And before anybody else speaks, I make a motion to adjourn.
I want to speak. I want to thank Misty for everything you did this last year. You opened my eyes, and when I got on the Finance Committee and the Admin Committee, thank you for doing that. I have a better insight. I appreciate what you do. Administrator, welcome aboard. Council members and Mayor, Merry Christmas. Be safe.
Yep.
Back at you, JR.
And we'll all see you in the new year.
Yep.
As long as y'all vote to adjourn.
I already made a motion.
I second it.
Second.
I second it.
Yeah, second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
You're welcome.